Hello people, I've just watched back my recording of this video and realised that I forgot to mention that there's going to be a lot of spoilers for the Acolyte. So if you do want to watch the Acolyte and you don't want it spoiled, watch the show first, then come back to this video. Without further ado, let's get into it. So, the Acolyte has finally ended. The last episode came out yesterday. It's been a long 8 weeks, hasn't it? Oh my word, the discourse surrounding this show has been all over the place. You get people on one side saying it's the greatest Star Wars show ever, and then you get another side where it says it's the worst thing to ever happen to humanity. Today, I'm going to tell you my thoughts on the Acolyte show. Now, this was a show I was really hyped for. I have been begging Disney to go to a different time period in the Star Wars universe. Branch that time period out. Give us more depth to it. And when they announced that, oh, we're doing the Star Wars show, 100 years before Phantom Menace, we're going to explore the Jedi and the Sith's point of view as well, I was like, calm, cool. And then they said, oh, it's going to be like a murder mystery thing. I'm like, yes, this sounds great. And the trailers came out. It looked really good so far. I was like, okay, I'm so excited for this. And coming out the end of it, this is probably one of the worst and most disappointing Star Wars projects ever. Now, I do want to be fair. I am going to say what I did like about this show before I go on this absolutely humongous rant, because I do like to be fair in my reviews. So here's the positives. Lightsaber fights, absolutely sick. This is the best action Disney Star Wars has ever had. This reminded me of prequels lightsaber fights. So well choreographed, the different styles in there. Absolutely have no complaints with the fighting in this show when it's with lightsabers. I do think hand-to-hand ones, they tried to make it look like Matrix fighting, which is quite ironic because Carrie-Anne Moss is in this show. And it doesn't look awful, but I don't know, it's just so jaggedy. It just looks so weird to me nowadays, but for overall, the action, which is pretty much the only thing people can say is good about this show, categorically agree that it's good, was the best part of this. The performances were fine for the most part. There was some very prequels reminiscent acting in there sometimes. Lee Jung-jae, though, as Master Soul, really good. I do feel a bit bad for him because, if you didn't know, he learnt English for this role. And there is a few times where you could tell it's not really fully up to scratch. But I can't blame him, he's just learning. I rate the bravery to try and go for it. So I've got to give him that. But overall, the performances were ranged from fine to pretty good. And apart from that, Basil, I liked Basil. He was really good. He was cute. I thought he was a little fun character. And yeah, right, let's get into a rant, shall we? So if I had to describe the Acolyte in one sentence, it's garbage Star Wars fanfiction by a guy that doesn't understand Star Wars. Because this show, so the whole point of the show is to try to break down the Jedi, see the start of where they went wrong. That's cool, that's great, I've got no problem with that. That could easily work. But maybe don't make the Jedi look like arseholes and villains. In the original trilogy, Obi-Wan says to Luke that the Jedi were the guardians of peace and justice throughout the galaxy, before the dark times, before the Empire. And then the prequels introduced that corrupted side of them. But they still had good intentions. They didn't want to be part of the Clone Wars, but you could still see their arrogance starting their downfall. But it was never shown as, oh, they're fully corrupt, they're evil, all they want is control, they hate anyone who uses the Force in different ways. Blah! No, they still had good intentions there. But in the Acolyte, these lot might as well just be the Sith. Because they pretty much hate anyone who's not a Jedi who uses the Force in different ways. And that point is put on full show by episode 3. One of the worst pieces of Star Wars media ever. So, these 4 Jedi come to this witch cult where May and Osha are part of their family. And they try and take them away because, well, they have the Force and they're children. And when I mean by force, they mean genuinely they take them by force. They say, you cannot, disregard the Jedi rules. They must be taken and trained. No, they shouldn't. Like, even when Jedi in future shows and movies take children away, like, even when Qui-Gon was taking Anakin away, he told him that, being a Jedi is a hard life. It's up to you.
Anakin, training to become a Jedi is not an easy challenge. And even if you succeed, it's a hard life.
But in this, nah, you're coming with me or we're going to kill you all. Which they do. So, yeah, great luck for them.
Mother Anastasia, you cannot deny that Jedi have the right to test potential Padawans.
And it's just so creepy as well. They're trying to groom children into their cult. Like, get Chris Hansen on this, because we've got some weird child grooming stuff going on here.
You want to explain yourself? What are you doing?
Making a mistake.
Making a mistake.
And this show also doesn't do well with the start of their downfall bit. We keep getting these sentences like, your arrogance and your goodwill will be part of your downfall. And it's meant to be like, she knows what's going to happen. Yeah, she knows. Okay, yeah, you're not wrong. But in this show, it's like, everything they do, that's going to be part of their downfall. No! We have this green Jedi who is kind of a side villain to this. She is a corrupt Jedi. She covers up the murders of these witches and what happened to these 4 Jedi. Now, this would have worked if it was just that Jedi. If there was one corrupt Jedi and that kind of started the spark to their downfall. Fine. That could have really worked. But everyone, so many Jedi, even some of our main 4, cover up these murders. And what happened? Like, we have this one guy who took a vow of silence. And he willingly decides to kill himself. So, we've got evil Jedi all around now. So, they're just these corrupt religious people who just do anything to make them look good and control. Like, and this is a big spoiler here, but the last 5 seconds of the finale, we get that cameo of Yoda. So you're telling me now that either Yoda knew this happened now, or he's just very blind to what happened. So much for being one of the wisest Jedi ever. And even at the end, the Green Lady Jedi just pins all the blame on Sol. Like, everything. Like, he had good intentions, but he was the one Jedi who did bad. Yeah, he deserved to die. Are you actually taking the mick here? So the Jedi are kind of ruined. And guess who else is ruined? Anakin Skywalker's development. Now, Rise of Skywalker already did this because somehow Palpatine returned. So he's back. His sacrifice meant nothing now. But now, you know how Anakin is basically created by the Force? That's what made him the chosen one. The one to destroy the Sith. Well, f*** that now. Because now we've got 2 girls who were created by the Force. So, I guess it can happen to anyone now. Brilliant. Thank you for undermining Anakin's art, people. Seriously, episode 3 does so much damage. And episode 7. I don't know why episode 7 and 3 were not merged together. That was just so weird why that was split into 2 parts. But those 2 episodes right there just ruin the Jedi. Just completely ruin it. They make them look like arseholes. They ruin Anakin's development by making these 2 twins created by the Force. It's dumb. You have completely ruined the reputation of the Jedi because of this show. And moving away from the Jedi, this story with Ocean May and our villain Chamir, I think that's his name, and Sol, is just so poorly written. And again, with the finale kind of sends a really bad message to me. So, as I said, Master Sol killed May and Osha's mother. But he never explains why he did it. He just said, oh, I did it to protect you. You know, because I love you. Why don't you just tell them why you actually did it? The flipping witch mother turned into this weird smoke monster. And May was going to turn into that as well. So he was trying to protect her. Why don't you just say that? And then Master Soul dies because of Osha. And wow. I mean, it's just played out like, oh, good on her. Yeah, good on her. And then Osha and May just run off together. and then all the blame's just pinned on Soul. So it's like, oh, well done. She's just killed the man who was trying to protect her, really. You know, she's free. They can live happily together. So basically what I'm getting at is, oh, you know, you need to kill people who did a little bit wrong, who are trying to protect you. They have good morals, so you can be fully free. What an inspiring message, eh? And as I said earlier, this show was meant to see a different side to the Sith a little bit. And Chamir is easily the best character in this show. We see that the Jedi banished him. We see that his master, who turns out was the bold green lady, you know, punished him, whipped him with a lightsaber whip. Stupid thing, by the way. And you can tell you can see why he has a bad view on the Jedi. Again, that's cool. That's really interesting. But you've made the entire Jedi evil now. So you've just ultimately proved his point. If it was only just that one Jedi who did that, this would have worked fine. But because you made near enough all the Jedi look like arseholes now, I'm just like, yeah, he's right. Fuck the Jedi. Kill them all. So you're making me sympathise with the Sith like they're heroes. I shouldn't be able to do that. And the character writing for some of our other characters is just bad. Like May. She has a grudge against these 4 Jedi. Wants to kill them because murdered their family. I took away her sister. Cool. Brilliant. Episode 4, she just has a change of heart. And even at the end, she has a right change of heart. And it's not developed properly at all. It's like episode 4, oh yeah, I don't need to do this. I need to be with Osha. Like that. Wow, brilliant. And you can tell that the writers really wanted to extend this show's runtime out to 8 episodes. Because there's so many times where characters should just say something, reveal something, and then they're immediately cut off, or for some weird reason they just don't say it. I said earlier, for some reason Sol doesn't tell Osha that he killed her mother because she was turning into like this weird smoke demon. And he was worried that she'd kill May. Doesn't tell her that. And then there's a bit in episode 6 where he's like, oh, we're going to have a little chat about what happened. And then the episode ends. And then there's a bit where Sol, I'm guessing, was going to tell May what actually happened. But then May electrocutes him. So many times that happens. And there's so many like repeated dialogue. I did this to protect you. I did this because I love you. I love May. I wanted to come back. I wanted to be safe. You know, blah, 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 blah. Just the same crap. Every single episode. Why did you extend this out into 8 episodes so poorly? And it got to a point where I was so bored. Like, there was many times during, like, the middle section of this series where I just zoned out. And I was like, ugh, because it was just so boring and repetitive. And also, there's no tension. Because after a certain point, you kind of know where this is going to go. For example, Master Soul and all these Jedi see Chamir, the Sith. Now, as we know, until Phantom Menace, the Jedi didn't know that the Sith returned. So I kind of just felt like, well, he's got to die then. They've all got to die. And lo and behold, they all die. So for like the last half of this show, I'm just watching this dead man walking because I know what's going to happen. And also, I've got to mention the cameos. I mentioned Master Yoda earlier. We see the back of his head. Get ready for some character assassination, people, because he's now going to be this corrupt idiot. Brilliant, well done. And then we see Darth Plagueis in the final episode. And as soon as that happened, I was like, what? So, Darth Plagueis is just in this cave. He's just chilling in this cave. And I'm like, so did Chamir and Ocean know he was there? What's going on here? It's like, oh, in season 2, I'm like, well, he's just chilling in a cave now? Like, what's going on here? And away from the story, visually, the film just looks so, I wouldn't say cheap, but you can tell it's all fake. Like, they're on this forest planet, I forgot what it's called. Most of the sets, you can clearly tell it's just a sound stage. And you can tell that the backgrounds are all green and blue screen. It looks pretty bad. Coruscant. Whoa, whoa. We saw that screenshot in the first episode. When prequel Coruscant from the 90s and the early 2000s looked better than 2024 Coruscant, you know you got a problem. It's like they just like put the background of Coruscant there. And then they just added like PNG images of Coruscant buildings in the background. And they don't connect to the bottom at all. And they just reuse the same buildings at times. Oh, it looks so cheap and bad. It's just like every decision, other than the lightsaber fights, was just the dumbest decision ever. It's like a guy who likes the prequels because he likes lightsaber fights didn't really take notice of what happened in the story. I just said, I'm going to write a Star Wars story and people will love it and it's going to be complex. Oh yeah, it doesn't matter if it breaks canon or it doesn't make any sense or it ruins Jedi as we know it. Nah. I'm just going to write it. This show pissed me off. I'm going on a right rant because I was so excited for this show. It's like, this is going to be great. We're going to get more, expansive lore before Phantom Menace. And they flopped it. Disney, you had me back into Star Wars with Andor. Ahsoka was pretty good. And then you give me this garbage. Well done. Thank you. I really appreciate what you've given us. So, if you're a big Star Wars fan, stay away from this awful fanfic. If you're trying to get into Star Wars and your friends are telling you to watch this show with them, just say no. It'll put you off Star Wars. I cannot suggest this show to anyone. Forget this show. It was terrible. The Acolyte's going to get a 1.5 out of 10 from me. Awful show. One of the worst pieces of Star Wars media out there.
How can you do this? This is outrageous. It's unfair. And
guys, it's for the end of this review. If you have seen The Acolyte, tell me, what did you think? Did you think it was pretty good? Did you hate it? Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And please, and if you want to give me reasons why I was wrong about it, honestly, put them down in the comments. I'm always up for opinions. But I hope you all enjoyed this video, guys. Have a good day. And see you later.